Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim. We talk about horror movies on this show. It's October, it is the Octoberthon, it is the month of Halloween. And in a bit of a special occasion, we're doing the new Halloween movie. And the reason why I say it's special, not just because we like the Halloween franchise, right, and not just because Halloween specifically means something to us, this may be the first of the big three that's got a new movie while we've been doing this show. Because there's been no Friday the 13th since we started doing this. There's been no Nightmare on Elm Streets. Obviously, last year we did have a Texas Chainsaw. We did have a Chucky, and the Chucky movie was quite good actually. So I mean, I guess we've had some biggies, but I feel like those three are the three biggest, right? That's the trio.
That's fair. Yeah.
That's your trinity. So that just feels kind of cool. Feels cool. And Blumhouse being behind it just feels like, yeah, sure, Blumhouse are going to do everything now. But anyway,
yeah.
So we're going to start spoiler free, as we always do. We'll warn you in the middle before we go into spoilers, and we'll talk about this. Now, it is worth mentioning, we have reviews for all of the Halloween movies at this point on the channel. I'll make sure there's a link to the playlist in the corner. Dating back a couple of years, but all of them now, all 10 of them are there. So we just did the remakes a couple of weeks ago. So you can check those out if you want a full history of what we think of all the movies. And that leads us to this. Leads us to Halloween 2018, directed by David Gordon Green, and we got Jamie Lee Curtis back. Kind of like Halloween H2O, it ignores a lot of the previous movies, including 2. In fact, this is a direct sequel to Halloween 1. So Halloween's very much a choose your own adventure story now at this point, because you've got 3 options after like 2, and you've got like 1 option or 4 options after 1, depending on which branch you want to go down. And I think it's safe to say we were excited about this.
Oh yeah.
Obviously we hated the remakes, and this looked like it was going to be going back to the roots, going back to what made the series good in the first place. John Carpenter doing a score was super exciting, and you know,
I think the trailers looked good, and you know, there's a lot of hype around it, and just listening to, you know, like interviews and like little sound clips and stuff of the directors, they seem to understand what made the first one so special. So
the buzz was good as well. You know, the Rotten Tomatoes score was pretty good. And everything else, there was, you know, everything possible was saying, hey, there's a reason to be excited here. And I was super pumped just to even hear the main theme in a theater, which I've never done, because, you know, Halloween the original is my favorite horror movie of all time. So just hearing that music in the theater, I was pumped for that. So this is really depressing, Tim.
Yeah.
I didn't like this movie, and it really upsets me.
Yeah, no, it's totally fair. It's I think, like, I don't think it's the worst movie in the world.
No, it's not. It's not complete garbage or anything like that. This is not Rob Zombie's Halloween or even close to it. But it's a
letdown.
It's so in the middle. You know, I went into this, obviously I never thought anything was going to touch the original, but I went into this kind of hoping that this would easily be the best sequel, right? Where I'm like, okay, that's easily the best one of the bunch after the original. And it's not. I like at least 3 sequels more than this one.
Yeah, I think that's easy to say.
And I think what hurts about it is that it's like, obviously, like we said, like everything they were saying about Michael Myers, about the original Halloween, and about what they wanted to evoke in this film, felt like the exact things we needed to hear. And I think the core complaint that we're going to come to, there's a lot of little things to complain about as well. There's a lot of things to digest with this movie. But I think the core thing that's going to come back to is I don't think David Gordon Green has the skill to direct the Halloween movie. I think it comes down to that.
I think that's fair.
I have so many passionate things I want to say to him. I have so many. And the weird thing is that we are kind of the outliers in our circles. I feel like almost everyone I see who else has seen it is pretty positive on it.
Here's what I have kind of been coming across, like, you know, and seeing people talking about it, like on Twitter and Facebook and stuff. And obviously this doesn't, you know, apply to everyone, but just kind of in my like friend group that I've seen, the people that are like big horror fans have not really been liking it that much. But the people that are more like, you know, I don't want to put people down, like, you know, if you're more of a casual fan, that's fine. But the people that are kind of not, you know, not like us, that are like watching horror movies like every week and dissecting stuff and are really passionate about it. Like the people that are just like, oh, it's October, I want to go see a new Halloween movie. They seem to be the ones that are like, wow, this was really good. Where, yeah, more people that are maybe a little more hardcore fans or whatever you want to say, like have kind of been like, no, this is kind of disappointing.
Yeah, and I think it all comes down to I can actually like pinpoint it in the opening scene, because I actually saw your kind of general response before I saw it, because you saw it about 10 hours or something like that before I did, and I think
I think what I said about it is that I didn't want to be too spoilery, but I was just kind of like, well, that was kind of a mess.
Yeah, that's the exact sentence I saw. I saw you say it's kind of a mess, and my instinct was like, oh, I want to fight him. And when I say I want to fight him, it's not that I want to fight him. I want to fight him for saying that. That's me saying I want to fight him. I want to come out of this movie wanting to fight him on that point. Because I want to like it, right? But it's in my head. I'm thinking about it, and I go to see it, and the movie starts. And we get this opening scene where, and you've seen it in the trailer. There's like I thought it was like a documentary, because they're actually podcasters who are investigating, Michael Myers, and they're visiting him at the hospital. And
I guess it's of the time, but it's like a little eye rolly to be like,
it's a big thing now with Serial and all these other crime podcasts. Like, it's a thing. So I mean, I get it, but and we have this thing where it does all these quick cuts, right? It starts to quick cut a lot, and that doesn't really feel Halloween to me, but it's doing its own thing. That's fine. I get what it's doing. I got that it was building up to because we didn't get to the titles yet, and I felt like it's Halloween, we're going to have the music play as the titles come up, and I thought it was going to build up to that, and it did build up to that. But here's my thing. It's cutting around, and it's like ramping up as if it's like building up the speed, the pace, right? And then and I knew what it was going to do was cut to black, and then it was going to be like right? And I was like, okay, that's fine. I get what you're doing here. It's actually kind of perfect. I'm going to be pumped when it cuts to that music, and I wasn't, because the editing, the pacing of the edit just felt wrong. When it cut to the music, it almost felt like it just rushed it a little bit too quick, because it wanted to surprise us. But it felt like it was jarring in a way that it felt like the edit was wrong. And that feeling I got from that, and I was like, oh, you kind of just ruined, like, that moment I was excited for about hearing the music in the big screen for the first time, right? You kind of ruined that moment, and it gave me this weird feeling of like, I hope that's not a trend for the rest of this. And unfortunately, that feeling I just described, where it's kind of slightly rushed, is the feeling I had the entire film. Every scene that was supposed to be suspenseful, I felt like it was just slightly rushing it. I felt there was too many cuts, too many shots. There's the first scene of like Laurie's granddaughter, who's a teenager in high school, right? She's walking down the street with her friends, which is a classic scene from the original Halloween. It's a staple of the franchise. Is the walking down Haddonfield, and it was cutting between shots every like 2 seconds, and I felt like, no, this should be like one wide shot, just following them down the street as they have their conversation. But it's cutting between all these close-ups, more so than I'd expect most films to do. Never mind a Halloween movie. And I'm not saying that you have to follow the exact style of the original film, but to me, outside of having a character called Michael Myers with a white mask on killing people, what makes Halloween Halloween is the suspense. And I felt like the filmmaking just wasn't getting it, and it never did get it the entire time for me.
I'd agree with that completely. I think like one of the big things about the first Halloween and what makes it so great, and the thing I kind of keep coming back to, is just the simplicity of it. Like, you can, Tim, describe the movie.
I have got your back so much in the need for simplicity with this. This movie is trying to chew off far too much. Yes.
But it's like, if you needed to describe the plot of the first movie, you could do it in, 2 sentences, like at the most.
Serial killer breaks out of mental hospital and comes back to Haddonfield where he murders babysitters. Done.
Okay, yeah, boom. Like this, you would need like a whole paragraph. Like there's so many like different storylines, and they all feel like they kind of belong like to different scripts that got smushed together, and you never really, or I mean, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I felt like I never really got to know any of the characters other than Laurie. But and obviously like a lot of that is probably what I'm taking from the previous movies with her.
Yeah,
like, I didn't care about any of the new characters.
I think our granddaughter got a little bit of time. Like, I felt like I knew her a little bit.
Yeah, she's yeah.
But the rest of the teenagers, definitely not. Actually, no. There's the babysitter character. I feel like I knew a little bit, and I want to get to complaints about that scene specifically in spoilers, because I've got a lot to say about that sequence. Okay. Because I feel like, and that's the thing, I do have positives. I have things that I want to say positively about the film. A lot of it spoilers, but I do want to say that I like most of the ideas that it's shooting for. There's even like there's a thing that happens in the plot, a swerve that happens at the start of Act 3 that most people don't like. Even people who like the film think it's the weakest part of the film, right? And it makes sense because it is a really weird swerve. But even that swerve, if the entire movie was about that and building up to like this, what this character is, I could totally see that being a good story. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah. Yeah, but when it's like, you know, one of 4 or 5 plot lines that are going on, it feels like just rushed and weirdly out of place.
Absolutely, and it's such a shame because I get so excited after the second trailer when we saw the scene in the trailer of Michael walking through the street and then going to the garage to get the hammer, and it was all this, you know, mostly one take, and I was like, oh, this feels like Halloween. But even that in the movie feels, even though it is just one long shot or 2 long shots, it feels kind of rushed, and it feels like, other than that one section of the film in the middle of the film where it's kind of like, oh, Michael Myers is back and he's on doing his thing, other than that, it felt like it was more focused on other things. And I could almost argue that there could be a version of this film without Michael Myers in it at all, that it's just about Laurie being kind of crazy and her family trying to care for her. Like, I could totally see that being a movie on its own. Like, yeah, too smooshed. It was almost like they had all these other things to do, but they still need to have some just like classic Halloween style kills in the middle, so they had to kind of like make that happen.
Which I think maybe the stuff I like the most about it would probably be like, you know, when we would actually see Michael Myers on screen, because like I thought like a lot of the kills were pretty good. You know, the ones we see like seem like, you know, there's some stuff that you don't see. Yeah, that's fine.
Michael looks good. The mask looks good. There's some nice shots of them. Like I say, I think they're ruined by how quick they are or the pacing or the edits, but there's some nice visuals of them on their own. I do think the kills are oddly too brutal at times, if that makes any sense. I feel like Michael Myers was never as brutal as some of the kills in this. Maybe I'm just misremembering some of the scenes.
Well, I feel like, yeah, and to be fair, you know, yeah, we only saw this once, so you know, who knows, if you go back and see it. But I do agree with you on that point where, like,
I feel like Jason kills almost rather than Michael kills.
Yeah, like Michael never really seemed to be about brutality. Like, he always seemed just to, you know, get in there, kill, and then you're done, and then it's on to the next.
Now, don't get me wrong, I will take this Michael Myers over Rob Zombie's, like,
1,000%.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. Don't take me. This was me. Is like, say, oh, they don't get Michael Myers. This is terrible. Like, no, like the general ideas are kind of there, but just there's just something a little bit off about it. Just a little bit off, and it's just that's how I felt the whole time.
And that's one of, like, you know, and in some ways, sometimes it's kind of worse than like a movie that's completely off the mark. That it's like, all right, what is going on here? Like, it's really frustrating when you can kind of see, like, you know, the little germs of, oh, this could have been really cool, or this would have been nice, and then it just doesn't quite make it.
Joe had, and I think you like Star Wars Rogue One, right? Before I make this comparison, but I want to.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, but so just bear with me as I say this, right? I you know, if I'm comparing Halloween to Star Wars in a weird way here, I would say the Rob Zombie movies are the prequels, right? They're you know, they're not actually prequels, but in terms of quality, in terms of how they make me feel. They're the Star Wars prequels of Halloween. Yeah. And this feels like the Rogue One to me. Now, obviously, you like Rogue One, that's fine, but I have very similar feelings about Rogue One in the sense that I feel like it's a very middle-of-the-road film that kind of relies oddly too much on fan service to get by, and I feel like this does that, where it has too many, like, really on-the-nose references to the first film, to the point, because there's a really good one towards the end, which we'll get to in spoilers. But I felt it was like almost ruined by the fact that we'd already had like 5 moments that were taken right out of the first one, to the point where it felt like overkill. It felt like I was being beat over the head with the point.
It just takes you out of the movie. Like, there's one line that like really, like, you know, just made me groan in the theater when you know, there's like this new doctor that's following I
know where you're going with this,
you know, Michael, and Laurie, like, literally says, like, when she meets him, oh, so you're the new Dr. Loomis. And it's just like, so do you really have to beat us over the head like that? Like,
well, see, I can almost see that one is supposed to be a meta joke. Like, that's what we're thinking. So then that's what Laurie says, and she doesn't care. Like, I get what I get the point of the joke, but yeah, I didn't really like it that much.
But yeah, like, no, I totally understand. Yeah, that's what they're going for. But Halloween isn't the kind of movie that I go to looking for, insightful meta jokes and fan service
not
stuff.
meta jokes.
You know?
Do you know what the funny thing? Do you know what the really sad thing about this is that you can like kind of analyze some of this film and you can see where there were, because we always say like some of the best horrors when it's about something, and I saw a really great write up of someone kind of analyzing this as a feminist Halloween film, right? And the idea that Michael kind of represents sexual assault, and everyone thinks Laurie's crazy because she won't get over her trauma, and ultimately she's right and everyone else is wrong, and everyone who tries to ignore her gets caught in the wake of the wrath, if you will. And it's kind of it's meant to be this kind of like, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I actually really like that idea, and if it slowed down and explored just the main characters who are relevant to that side of it, I'd actually really like it. I think I would.
Yeah.
I like the idea of taking, because the original Halloween didn't really have a whole lot to say in a grand sense, but it did have this idea that Laurie is a protector of children. I've talked about that a lot whenever I talk about the film. And I like the idea that she was still kind of like that Laurie still kind of wanted to protect her granddaughter, and she was concerned that Michael might be out there. And there's stuff to explore with that. Like, I get that. I just don't think the filmmaking is there to back it up.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's really, I mean, maybe this is the point of it. Maybe that's what they were trying to go for. But man, it was really frustrating for me to watch Laurie's character in this, because I love the character, and it kind of sucks. Like I love that she's badass in this. Like, that is totally cool. Like, I like the idea of her being very proactive and being ready to take him on. But I hate the fact that like it ruined her life. Like, that she has all these problems, and like I still want her to have a happy life, but like everyone, like it is weird that like everyone hated her so much, like where to the point where it's like people like screaming at her, and it's like she didn't do anything. Like,
which I mean, I think if that, like, I think the movie had to pick one of its plot points, and I say actually, because Laurie's not really the main character, at least not for a lot of the movie, because it's cutting around too many things.
Yeah,
it's cutting around too many things. And I really wanted it to just slow down and focus on whatever one it wanted to focus on. And if it focused on Laurie and it set up that she is this broken because of what happened when she was a teenager, and this is what her life is, that's fine if that's what the story's going to be, and her finally overcoming it. Because, I mean, here's the sad truth of this. This is kind of just a more extreme version of H2O. Because that's kind of what's in H2O, is that she can't accept it, she's hiding out in this private school, and it's about her confronting the monster at the end, right? That's like, H2O.
That's true.
And that's kind of, it's a more extreme version here, but it's, there's definitely elements there. Although I do laugh, because it's been 20 years, now it's not her son that's the victim, it's her granddaughter. I like how that time difference is done that. It'd almost have been good if we had Judy Greer as the daughter in H2O 20 years ago. I don't know if the ages match up perfectly, but it'd have been funny. That'd have been cool. Yeah, and like our granddaughter's an okay character. Like the characters here, we never get to really know them well enough, but they are not obnoxious like zombies characters. They're definitely better than that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like I like the, well, yeah. I think the thing is, like, I like the granddaughter, and I like Judy Greer's character, but like the granddaughter we get a little bit more of, but like I didn't really get too much of a sense of like Judy Greer's character. Like, I feel like we get a lot of her being like, my childhood was so bad I can't talk about it, but like, we really don't get much of a scope of exactly how extreme it was.
They don't spend enough time with her. They really don't. Like, I think if you want to focus on this 3 generations of Strode, or well, not Strode, because obviously she's married to get someone, and but like, if you want to focus on these 3 generations and just focus on those 3 characters, that'd be fine. But it didn't really feel, like I said, it felt too jumping around. And I mean, hell, maybe this is like, there was a longer cut. Maybe there's like a 2.5 hour cut of this that actually makes this all work, and the pacing's quite good, and they had to cut it down. And that would be, instead of the director's incompetent and can't actually film these scenes properly, it's just a case of they had to edit it down, and that's like all the pacing got cut.
And I feel like a lot of the times when we complain about this kind of stuff, like I think we would maybe chalk it up to like studio interference. But since it was Blumhouse, like, they're, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think they're usually pretty hands off. Like, I think their whole model is that, we make movies like, pretty cheap, and we give people like, more like freedom and stuff to do what they want.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's possible, but I'm not necessarily going to jump to that opinion. So, like, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about without spoilers, because I will say, like, Michael looks good. Some kills are fun, especially in the middle of the film. But I thought the opening act was especially haphazard, and then it gets a little bit better for a little while in the middle.
I would go as far to say that I hate the opening sequence, and I would say of the movie. Like most of the movie, I would say I didn't hate. It was more just like maybe a little eye rolly at times, maybe like a little bit of missed opportunities, or kind of like you said, like maybe the filmmaking wasn't there. But most of it, I didn't hate. But the opening sequence, I will legitimately say I thought was bad. As soon as the credit sequence did start, though, like that, because like I watched the opening sequence and I was like, all right, I'm a little nervous now. When the credit sequence does kick in, that did get me back on board a little bit because, yeah, like you said, I guess it is, a little bit of a, weird to jump right in there. But once it started, like you get the music kicking in, you get like the pumpkin, the orange text, text and stuff. So that did put me back into a good mood at least. But
yeah,
after that, it's slow. Yeah.
We should probably mention the humor, and I want to talk about this more in the spoilers because I think I want to be specific with some examples, but there is a little bit of humor in this. Some of it I think is fine, but then some of it I think is completely out of place and ruins some of the scenes that it's in. But I wanted to mention it spoiler free just so it was brought up.
Yeah. But, this is always a weird thing to talk about because I feel like this is something people really like jump down your throat about, and it's something we see in like every movie now that there's like this like same type of humor that I feel is like we see in a lot of it doesn't really matter what type of movie it is. Like it can be comic book movies, sci-fi movie, horror movies, but there's this like specific type of humor that just really takes you out of it. And I feel like people don't like when you don't like it. Like they're just like, oh, like what's wrong with having jokes in a movie, or like, oh, like the original movie had jokes in it, or like, oh, like you're being too harsh. But I don't know, I think it
the original movie
types of movies
had humorous characters and humorous moments. It did not have punchlines.
Exactly.
Not really.
Yeah.
And some of the humor in this is actually good. Like there's a couple of funny characters that I like, but and so all right. So I want to go spoilers, right? I want to do spoilers, right? So full spoilers from this point on. I want to get deep into this. I want to talk about the babysitting scene.
Okay.
The girl from Virginia Gardner from Runaways, who was, it was nice to see because I'd seen her on another show. I was like, oh, I know her. That's cool.
Oh, I didn't realize that was her.
Yeah, she's I forgot her name for a while. Sorry.
Carolina.
Yes. Alien light up girl.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah. But she's babysitting, and of course, like obviously, the original Halloween revolved around babysitters. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure, there should be a babysitter here. If anything, I'd be like, just have them all be babysitters again. Why is there a Halloween party? Like Halloween 5 and other. They always seem to, in Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie one. They always seem to want to come back to the party for some reason when it's kind of a bad setting for a slasher scene because, like, if Michael Myers does show up.
You're talking about the school dance?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Which I hate that in I'll get to your point in a second, but like I hate that the fact that like these school dances are always like so intense. Like they have this like DJ and the music is so loud and everyone's in these like huge garish costumes and like dancing and going crazy. And I'm like we had school dances but it was just like they kind of just had some music playing and people just kind of milling about like everything feels like a big rave.
I agree with the milling about, definitely. We definitely had DJs at mine though, so I buy that side of it.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. I definitely remember the loud thumping music being a thing still, but anyway.
Maybe I'm an old man, but it always like takes me out because it's just like, oh, like yeah, this is a school dance, not like a 2 in the morning at a nightclub in New York or something.
Yeah. I'm glad at least that one character implied they had to hide the fact that they were drinking booze because it felt like they were just doing it really openly for a while. I was like, seriously, the teachers don't have a problem with this, really? But anyway, so while this is going on, one of our friends from Runaways is what's her name? Vicky. She is babysitting this kid, and the kid's pretty funny, right? And here's the thing: I will defend the humor in the first scene with them because I think it's actually a really good idea here. That it sets up very quickly their relationship and that you kind of care about them a little bit because she's on the phone with our main character, Laurie's granddaughter, and they're joking around and they're talking about smoking later, and the kid just says, "I'm going to tell my mum you're going to smoke weed later," and he just like sort of comes out with it. He's like, "Well, shut up! No, you're not. I'll show you your browser history." And they're kind of being mean to each other, but then they're kind of nice to, you know what, I was lying. You are my favorite kid, and it was like, this is good because right away they have a connection. She cares about the kid cares about her. This is setting up that when Michael shows up and does something, I'm going to care. Which, by the way, screw them for putting the closet scare in the trailer, because
that annoyed me.
This entire scene is building up to it, and it's like, well, I know what's happening at the end of it.
Yeah, this would have been an amazing scene. If I didn't know that going in.
Yeah.
And then, quick side tangent. Did you get the trailer for Happy Death Day 2 in the theater?
I did not, and it's not online. You can't see it online yet. They've made it exclusive to theaters for the time being.
Okay, so we covered it in the in a previous episode, so obviously we've seen it, but the trailer, they give away the ending of the first movie. Like, they tell you who the killer is, and it's like the movie is like just a year old. Like it.
Yeah, it was last October. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that you are ruining like the ending of your movie that's not even a year old or just about a year old. That, like, I mean, there could be people that haven't seen it.
I'm pumped for the second one. I love the first one.
Oh yeah, no, I'm excited for it. It's just like I don't know. Like sometimes I listen to like some podcasts where people talk about how they're just like, I don't do trailers anymore. I don't watch them at all. And I'm starting to think like, I don't know. I kind of want to go this route. Like, it's hard not to.
Yeah,
like,
how do you?
when you're really
in the theater though, how do you avoid it unless you just intentionally show up later, have headphones on, and duck your head down and don't look or listen?
Yeah, I mean, if you close your eyes, I guess at least you're not getting most of it or whatever. But like, I don't know. Like, part of me like thinks like maybe that might be the way to go, because especially with this movie, like that closet scare would have been such a huge like highlight for the movie. But yeah, when you know it's coming, you're just kind of waiting there.
Yeah. So here's the thing though. So they're very funny with each other, and I thought the humor was fine and it worked because it was building their characters. It was building their and in one very short scene, we got how much they cared about each other, how close they were. And I was all great because obviously we had Laurie and Tommy in the first movie. That was a big part of it, and I was happy to have that. The problem is that when Michael Myers actually shows up and goes to kill her, right? He keeps being funny. He keeps cracking jokes, and it completely ruins the tension of the scene. Because I don't know about you, but when because he's grabbing her and the kid's on the staircase and he sees Michael for the first time, he goes, "Oh shit!" That made the theater laugh. Like,
oh yeah, totally
uproar laughter. It was probably the funniest moment in the movie was him saying that. Although I actually liked when he first comes downstairs because the boyfriend's there. He comes downstairs and he's like, "Oh, there's a scary man in my room. A scary man in my room." And Vicky's like, "Oh, I'll go up and check it." And he goes, "No, send Dave first."
Yeah, like that. Like, that's completely fine.
Yeah, that's
like
funny.
You said, Michael Myers hasn't shown up yet, so when he shows up, like any. Like I'm not like anti-humor. Obviously, like I like jokes and stuff, and it's totally fine to have funny characters. And yeah, to be fair, this kid was amazing. Like, you can like watching him, you're like, oh, he's gonna be in other movies for sure. Like, he's so charming and likable and stuff. And I think the problem is maybe where we differ with like some other people, because this was like another thing where people that like the movie especially love this part and this kid. And I think when someone's like likable and funny like that, people are just like, put him in more stuff, have him make more jokes, like more. And it's like, no, like you said, he can definitely be funny, but once the boogeyman shows up, he needs to act like a kid. He needs to be scared. He needs to run away. Because I don't know.
He needs to be scared silent. That's what's going to make it effective. And instead, he's still cracking jokes, and it completely deflates her death. Her death, like, she's been dragged along the floor, and I'm just like, I just laughed. I'm not intense at all.
Yeah, and like honestly, like if you think about like times in your life when you've been legitimately scared, like not like you're watching a horror movie and a jump scare and you go like, oh, but like actual times in your life when you've been scared, like you're not thinking in your head of like punchlines, like you're not like, oh, this would be funny to say right now.
And again, this in a Friday the 13th sequel, I'd be cool with this. Like him cracking a joke when Jason's there would be fine, because Jason's not scary. Like, but the thing with Michael is that he is scary. He's very tense. And if you're going back to the roots of the original film, you don't have someone making wisecracks when he's coming at you like this, and it completely deflated the moment. And you do want a humor in a horror movie to deflate the tension, but you don't want to do it in the middle of the kill scene. you want to do it later after the kill scene, before the kill scene, but not during the kill scene. Oh my god, it really annoyed me. So I actually like the kid. I think he's really funny, and I think the humor's great until it happens while Michael's there, and it just completely ruins the scene.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And then it seems like there's like, I guess maybe going back to your point about, some like weird editing and choices and stuff. Yeah, like there's like a lot of times where you just don't really know exactly like what's going on. Like there was like when you have like the little kid is he's scared and then he's running out, and then the boyfriend Dave is there, and he hears screaming and stuff, and it kind of he doesn't really seem to know what's going on, and he ends up grabbing a knife. But the way it's shot, like I couldn't tell if he's gonna go upstairs and try to save her, or if he's like scared shitless and trying to run away, and he's like just grabbing a weapon, and then later we see that he's dead like on the first floor, so it's like I guess
yeah, we never see that scene. And he's also knifed into the wall, like the guy in the first film, and it's like, okay, I just did that off camera. It's just fine. Yeah. And this is something I know you complained about, and I never realised this until I heard you talk about it afterwards. Is that Allison, Laurie's granddaughter, her boyfriend, who they spend a lot of time at the start of the movie setting up as like the new boyfriend, he's meeting the parents for the first time. Allison's defended him, saying, "No, he's a nice guy." Because our dad's I'd say our dad's kind of a failed comic relief character who he has these really weird jokes that just don't really go anywhere. I've got peanut butter on my dick. Like, what?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, it's weird.
But they make a whole thing where he comes to dinner for the first time, and obviously this intersects with Laurie's stuff a little bit because she comes to this dinner as well, but they make a big deal of introducing him, teasing the Halloween costume, that they're gender swapping Bonnie and Clyde and all the rest of it. And then out of nowhere in the Halloween party, she catches him kind of like flirting and kissing this other girl, and she storms out, and he tries to like he tries to confront her about the fact that she's always answering her phone, and throws it in like the jelly or whatever it is, the custard.
It was like, I thought it was nacho cheese, but
maybe that. It was something thick. It was like a thick liquid, right? And she just storms off, and then we find out like 10 minutes later, because of Michael Myers being in town, they've evacuated the school party and sent everyone home. Because she left with Oliver, the boyfriend's friend, they're like not part of the evacuated people. They're out in the streets. They're in danger. But it never occurred to me until you brought it up afterwards that we never see the boyfriend again. What's his name? Cameron. We never see him again. He never gets like. I mean, I'd say he never gets comeuppance like a slasher movie character like that should get. But at the same time, the twist where he's doing this was so out of left field and random, and it didn't feel like it was adding anything to it. Like.
It's insane because they do set him up to be like a
main character.
So he should be a part of something, and then when you have the fact that he's flirting with the other girl, he seems to have a drinking problem because and again this is totally out of left field, but she confronts him and she's like, "You're drunk," and you always seem like such a nice guy,
which is never brought up, like that he may have a drinking problem at any other scene before this.
Yeah,
just the Halloween party. That's it.
But then it's like, okay, so at this point, he still seems like he's a main character, but now he's turned from being like a likable guy to a jerk. So which
might set up in your head that he may have a redemption. Like maybe he'll show up and save her. When Michael's like grabbing her or something later.
Sure, that could be the possibility, or just a simple like, well, I like me personally, I was like, well, okay, so he's gonna die because obviously now, but yeah, absolutely nothing, and and what's crazy to me about me is like or about this is like and again, I don't want to rag on people for liking this movie because it's okay to like a movie, that's fine, but like the people that are really raving about it, and it's like, don't you see like stuff like this is just poor filmmaking. I'm sorry, but like this is like totally setting stuff up out of left field and then never hearing from characters again. That's just like shoddy film work.
We spent so much time in him. It'd be one thing if it was just like it was barely mentioned. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to the party with my boyfriend, and then we didn't really see him before that. It wasn't a big deal. If he was just kind of a character like that, that'd be fine. But they spend time like debating him, like talking to her parents about meeting him, and then the introduction to him, and like everything about it. It just, I don't know, it feels weird.
You know what it is he goes from being a character to just being a reason why she doesn't have a cell phone.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it as well, there's a lot of weird things to this, like how
the best friend is like also in love with her or whatever.
No, not so much that. I mean, that's whatever. Like, I mean, I guess that's tied into the feminism side because he tries to kind of not he isn't trying to rape her or anything, like, but he tries to kiss her and he kind of goes in a couple of times and
he tries to be like oh, I'm the nice guy that like, deserves you.
But he's actually still being an asshole, yeah.
Yeah.
So I get how thematically that kind of what they were doing with that, even though it does feel again kind of clunky, and it leads to his big death scene, of course, which you know again I thought was a fun idea ruined by the filmmaking.
Oh, the Friends death scene.
Yeah, the motion sensor lights, you know, the porch lights.
Oh yeah, that was cool. And then this was another one where the humor was just like a little too much, like him thinking that Michael Myers was like the neighbor, like I forget what it was. He might even thought it was like some like old lady or something, like, you know, like funny for the first few lines, but then again when he just keeps talking and talking and talking again, like it really like takes all of the tension and stuff out of it, like.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling this, and it was also I loved that Michael Myers is a force of evil and he's a force of nature, right? But this is a scene that specifically maybe like makes it harder to take, that because these are motion sensor lights, he shouldn't be able to move without setting them off. Like physically, this should be impossible.
Yeah.
So it was making me think about that a little bit, and anytime it makes me think about the logic of it, like don't do that. Like play it safe. But no, like so. I mean, there's obviously the score. I mean, one thing we never mentioned in the spoiler-free section we should have is the score is fantastic. Like, the music's the best part of the film, right? It's absolutely amazing. I did think it was a couple of weird elements to it in the sense that there was one really great moment where Laurie's theme kind of came in, but it only came in once. So it was kind of weird. But it came in at a really sad moment, which I did like. And I thought, again, this is going back to the same problem with the opening title music cut in. When the chase theme kicks in, you know, the dun, dun, dun,
oh, yeah.
Dun. When that kicks in, it felt awkward and out of beat, right? It's just when the car door opens and it just immediately starts playing. Whereas when I think of it playing properly in the original film, it was, you know, it was like it came in like they trusted the opening piano note to be shocking enough. They didn't have to like cut into it really quickly. Yeah,
no, I would agree with that.
So
I don't think I thought of it in the moment, but. Yeah, like when thinking about it.
Just you know, rushed, I guess is the thing. It felt rushed. So here's something I was just thinking about, and I just sort of realized as I was thinking. Now, admittedly, the original film didn't introduce all the male characters together either, but I do think it's weird now that I'm thinking about it that we never see all the characters together, all the teen characters. We have Allison's with
Vicky and Dave in the beginning.
Was that Vicky in that scene?
I think so.
Joe, I can't remember it being Vicky.
Yeah, I think it was her.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Nah, you're probably right. Because I can't think of who else it would be then. There's no other characters. It has to be Vicky. Because I was going to complain that it was weird that we didn't see Vicky till the babysitting thing, but actually, if that was her, then fair enough.
Yeah. But, I mean, you know, it is like a quick scene in the beginning, and it's like not like you really get any sense of the characters or anything.
Yeah. But yeah, it's okay, fair enough. That's just me not remembering that was her when that scene came up. That's my bad. So Laurie's thing, here's the thing, I actually love the idea of her being sad. Like, to see her crying because she goes to watch the prison bus take Michael because he's been transported near the start. I love that idea. That scene of her breaking down, and then breaking down at the dinner table and having her theme come in a little bit in a really sad way. I thought, oh man, this kind of works for me. Focus on this, slow this down, because I was getting optimistic here. I thought, oh, if it's going to like go down this path, like I could see what they're doing with this, that would set it apart from the original, that would make it its own thing.
The dinner scene actually kind of bothered me. I hated
the other characters.
Well, yeah, pretty much, because like she comes in and at first, like, you know, it's all fine, and it's kind of weird. And again, maybe this is a sense of not really knowing the characters, but like you know, Allison, you know, when she's talking to her mom, like, it seems like she's calling her out, like being like, so you invited grandma? And she's like, yeah, I did. And it kind of makes her seem like she didn't, but then she does show up. So it's like, I guess she did. But like, I don't know, it just seems like such a weird thing to harp on her being like, oh, you liar, you don't talk to her. And that's like, oh, no, I guess you did. But then, you know, she comes to the table and like, you know, she has like a few, nice pleasantries, and then she.
I was just on that point though. What I thought had happened is that the mother never invited her, but Allison herself did, because Laurie came to see her with the money earlier on.
That's what I thought at first, but the thing that, and maybe again just chuck this up to the filmmaking not being the best, what kind of threw me off is that when she does show up, the mom is just like, see, here she is.
Yeah, like, that's fair. Yeah, because that confused me, because I didn't think she was the one who invited her because of the way the scene was set up.
Yeah, and again, it's just such a weird thing. It's like, why are you harping on this and making it seem like a thing if it's not really? But whatever. But then it bothered me again because she immediately starts drinking some wine, and I'm assuming she probably has some.
Also, a plot point from H2O. She had a drinking problem in that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. and so obviously, I'm assuming she has a drinking problem, so that's why the characters don't want her to drink. But like, instead of being, like a nice family, like where they're like, "Mom, what are you doing?" Or like, "Mom, slow down." Like, they immediately jump down her throat and they're like yelling at her, and then like she like starts breaking down and crying and stuff, and it's just like a really, like it's really awkward and stuff, and like it makes me kind of like not like the other characters.
No, I agree. And again, if you're going with the idea that it's like, they're not understanding her trauma, they're not respecting that she's went through this, and that's what the film is going for, and that's kind of a nice idea. But again, the execution is just a little bit lacking. It makes you dislike the other characters too much, I think. Except Allison, who's actually like, no, let's have her be here. Let's be understanding, please.
Because I think what it wants you to do is to be like, oh, like Judy Greer's character is so upset because she had this horrible childhood, but again, you never really see or have her talk about the childhood enough to really understand why exactly it was so bad. Because like,
there's one monologue about how she was taken away and how she was trained in weapons and how there was traps all over the house and whatnot, but that's about it.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know, maybe it's kind of weird, but like it's hard to really understand like the full scope of that. Is it because it's like, all right, like, was she making you like, fight her or something to like, or is it?
I think it was more
like there's lots of people that train their kids to shoot guns or whatever.
Yeah, but like, I think the bigger problem is she wasn't even sending her to school. She was keeping her at home and just doing this sort of stuff.
Okay,
I think that's what they were getting at.
Okay, so I mean, if it's stuff like that, that's totally fine. But again, like, I need to know more of that. Like, I need to see that or have more.
No, I think Judy Greer really got the shaft in this, because there's a really subtle. There's not a lot of this movie that's subtle, because I think this movie is determined to rush through things and beat you over the head. But one of the subtle little touches I like is that early on in the film, Allison mentions to her friend that maybe we should we could just skip Halloween and just put up a Christmas tree to like ignore the holiday, because her family hates Halloween, understandable, right? And throughout the last half of the film, I don't know if you noticed this, but Judy Greer's wearing a Christmas top the entire time.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
And that's a really neat little touch. It's like, that comes from her mum. The idea that she wants to skip Halloween and just go straight to Christmas. And I'm like, that's a really neat little touch.
Yeah, I actually I didn't notice that, but that is cool. And I like Judy Greer a lot as an actress. And
I'll admit though, the problem with Judy Greer is I can't see her without thinking of her Arrested Development character and thinking, this is the last time you'll ever see these.
That would have been great if she just did that to Michael, like at the end.
But I think the other reason why she gets the shaft though is because I feel like, okay, so you've got her being this skeptic who doesn't believe her mom and thinks her mom's crazy, walking around with guns, and she doesn't want a gun in her house, and because there's a kind of a funny scene where Jamie Lee Curtis is already in the house, and she's like, how did you get in here, mom? You have no security. Come on, I didn't teach you anything. Have an alarm system, have gates, have things. But I never felt like that we got that moment where Judy Greer realizes that her mum was right. I feel like we skip over it and she's just being scared because Michael Myers is around. We never have that moment where she's like, oh shit, she was right all this time.
Yeah, definitely. That probably would have been an important scene.
Yeah, it felt like that beat was missing. It felt like the middle of her arc was, because at the end of the film, like all three generations of Strodes like help defeat them. They all have to kind of like pitch in, and they're all standing there defiant. And I get the moment they want to have here with all three of them being triumphant over this demon, but like I felt like it was missing the beats to make it feel like they were all equal parts of the plot. And that kind of deflated it for me, which was unfortunate. So
yeah, and then all right, so might be jumping around a little bit, but
that's
just because I'm kind of thinking about the ending a little bit. A scene that I really hated was when Allison's running through the woods, and then like She starts like running like by like all like the broken mannequins and stuff, and then like she starts getting freaked out, and because it's just like the only scary thing should be Michael Myers. Like we don't need all these like mannequins and stuff, and like I don't know, maybe I don't know if I was hearing it correctly or something, but it kind of sounded like during that scene that there was like almost sounded like laughter or something in the background, like they're trying to have like a creepy, like kind of ghosty like sounds like in the background of it. And I'm like, no,
I never noticed that. I mean, that could have just been people in your theater, like somewhere.
possibly something like that, or maybe it's just hitting my ears in a weird way or something. But
yeah, that was weird.
It was just something that's annoying.
I mean, obviously, they try and justify that there's mannequins around because Laurie uses them for target practice, right? And that's fine. I did think it didn't justify her having a room full of mannequins for the creepy stuff later, because they wanted a scene where there's a room full of mannequins and she's creeping around in them, and I'm like, this just feels like, I know you're justified it by saying that she uses these for target practice, but this just feels like too much. Like you're going like it feels try hard. And in fact, see, when I was going back to the fan service like Rogue One comparison, right, where it's not a terrible movie, it's kind of middle of the road, the filmmaking's not up to scratch, but it tries to like do too much fan service and it's too on the nose. I felt like the constant like callbacks to the first film were a problem, because the first one where she's in the same classroom, like Allison's in the same classroom that Laurie was in the original film, and they do the exact same moment where she looks out the window, instead of Michael, she sees Laurie, she's her grandmother, right? And I thought, okay, I get what you're doing there. You're saying that the tables have flipped, that Laurie is now the Michael, right? I was like, okay, it wasn't great, but I can see what you're doing with that. And then they have the big moment at the end, which I much prefer on its own. If it was on its own in a vacuum, Laurie being thrown off the balcony, right? Yeah. And then Michael looking down after he hears a scream, and she's gone, and the same music cue happens, the da-nan, right? Yeah. Which actually didn't happen at that moment in the film, admittedly, because in the original Halloween, it's just the main theme that started playing, I think, if I remember correctly. I only watched that a month ago, I should remember that, but I'm pretty sure it's just the main theme that starts playing. Yeah. Right, but they play the sting, the Michael just appeared sting, right? The shock sting. And I'm like, that was a great idea for a moment. It was really kind of predictable, and as soon as she went off the balcony, I knew they were going to do it. But that's okay. This is the build up to it happening is part of the charm. The problem is not only did they already have that scene in the classroom earlier on in the film, which is the exact same point where the tables have flipped, but it makes much more sense here because they're flipped in the heat of combat, right? They're flipped in the battle where Michael's now suddenly the Laurie, right? Not only that, we just had 2 closet callbacks, like 2 separate moments where they teased the closet from the first movie, where again it's Michael supposed to be in the closet and Laurie's the one going into the closet. They've just by the time this moment happened, it is on its own a good moment and a good idea. I was so beat over the head with too many callbacks that it started to feel like just cheap fan service, and it was really bugging me at that point. Yeah,
it was unfortunate. Yeah, like I did like that scene, but I get what you mean, where it's like, all right, yeah, maybe you could have just kept this and gotten rid of some of the other stuff.
I get it. She's turned the tables. She is now the stalker. I get it. She is the shape now. I get what you're doing. It's a great idea. And if that's what the movie wants to be about, that's great, and that's what it should be about. But like we've already said, it cuts to all these other things, and it does all these other things. Like, honestly, the podcasters, why do we even need them?
You absolutely don't, because I thought they were going to be the thing that breaks them out, like whatever. And I don't know if maybe they're trying to say like the mask maybe awakened Michael or whatever, so maybe that's why they're justified or whatever. But really,
well, the only reason they're here is so the mask is around. They brought the mask. Yeah. That is it. That's the only reason why they exist. But we didn't need that. Michael could have gotten that himself, probably.
So since we're talking about them, though, let's talk about this opening sequence, because again, I absolutely hate this. So, like in the trailer, it looked kind of cool. Like it's visually interesting seeing this, kind of like checker-looking floor or whatever, and all like the mental patients are like kind of, they get to go outside, but like they're changed to these blocks, which is which looks cool and stuff. But then you're going back to the idea of simplicity, like, why is Michael Myers, do what he does? There's no reason for it. Like, it's just like, that's what's scary about it. But what they're doing here is they're showing him the mask, and, they're screaming and, look at it, Michael, turn around, whatever, blah blah, and all the other mental patients are
it's
going crazy.
It's cut into all these close-ups of all these other mental patients all like freaking out at the same time, almost as if there's like an evil aura starting to build in the the location.
Like, and again, there shouldn't, like, I guess maybe you can say that there might be somewhat supernatural tones later on in the movies, but in the first one, there really isn't any hint of a supernatural thing going on. But this is making it feel like the mask is evil, or it's awakening this presence and it's affecting everyone around them. And I just hated it so much.
Yeah, my bigger problem, because like, I'll accept that they just know what this means to Michael, maybe, and it felt a bit too try hard. It felt like, we're trying to be extra crazy and it's going to be really cool. My bigger problem was the filmmaking. All the tight close-ups just didn't feel like a Halloween movie to me at all.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It just, like, to me, Halloween's a lot of wide shots, right? There's not a lot of close-ups. Yeah. There's over the shoulders and stuff, sure. I'm not saying there's never any close-up, but there was all these extremely eye close-ups and all these extreme, like, you know, all these quick cuts to all these different things, and I don't know, it didn't really feel like Halloween to me. The respecting the pace of the moment and just letting it happen in natural time is kind of one of the strengths of suspense, and Halloween especially, and this movie does not do that at all. It almost never does it. And there's the one scene in the trailer that's in the movie where it does follow behind him as he gets the hammer is one of two shots where that kind of happens, really, and that's it. There's just 2 moments of that, and they're both in the second trailer.
Yeah, ugh, that's so annoying. And then one last little bit about this opening too, not to get apologize if I'm being too SJW or whatever, but it seemed like kind of an insensitive portrayal of like mental illness, like it seemed like kind of like an old-fashioned caricature of like, the people just kind of like banging their heads and just like making like grunts and like whoa kind of noises. But
that's kind of what I was getting at when I was saying it was too try hard. We're doing this classic over the top like representation of mental patients, and I don't think the discussion of representation of mental illness really should enter into a Halloween film, because sure, Michael Myers goes to a mental hospital, sure, because that's where they would put him, but the idea, of course, is that he's actually a force of nature. He's a force of evil that we can't understand, right? He's not actually mentally ill in the traditional sense, but because they've put him in this situation where we're surrounding him with mentally ill people, and because of the portrayal of those mentally ill people, it's this really cheesy, like, old idea of it. And I didn't like the opening scene either, and then the pacing of it, the way it was shot, the way it cut to the title, everything about it made me worried about the rest of the film. And it was like, most of it wasn't as bad as this opening scene. Like, there was like I say, I like a lot of the ideas, it's just there's too many of them, I guess. Or the movie's not long enough to accommodate them all, I suppose, more than anything.
And I guess I do like that Laurie at one point calls him the Shape. She actually refers to him as the Shape in one scene, which I liked. Like that wasn't bad. And then not too, I don't want to get too like political or anything, but while we're kind of on the subject,
where are we going with this?
Well, no, it's just I don't know, maybe just because of like the climate and stuff today, like I couldn't help but think or wonder if the movie was maybe trying to make like some type of message about guns or something, because like every like good guy like in the movie like seemed to have a gun, and it seemed to to really focus on like Laurie has all these different types of guns, and like you want to make sure like they have them stuff, like they probably weren't trying to make a blatant point, but it couldn't help but like,
well, do you mean like
stand out to me a little bit.
Do you mean a pro-gun message? Is that what you're saying?
Kind of seemed like it to me, but I don't know, maybe I'm just reaching too hard, or just because it's kind of a unfortunately a thing nowadays. I don't think
I got a message about the guns specifically. I feel like Laurie's kind of like intentionally kind of cookie about this whole thing, and she's been stocking up for years because she expects to fight it. In fact, there was a really stupid headline from Fox News that Jamie Lee Curtis speaks out against gun violence and is for gun control, but her character in Halloween uses guns, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that Kel MacLachlan hates cherry pie, but you know what, it doesn't ruin Twin Peaks for me.
I saw that on Twitter. I thought it was funny. There was like a lot of like different stuff going on. There's tons of stuff you can make about that. Like,
it's so stupid.
Tobey Maguire doesn't actually like radioactive spiders, despite playing Spider-Man and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of good ones. I think I saw Anthony Hopkins doesn't actually like fava beans.
That's good.
So no, I mean, like, if anything, I could see you doing like almost an anti-gun message with this. The idea that they all stock up in guns, but they're all useless. They don't do anything. They don't accomplish anything. He just walks through them.
Yeah, like that. Like that's what I was kind of trying to think of. I was like, is it trying to say something? Because it seems like every good person has a gun, but then at the same time, yeah, they don't really do anything.
Yeah, I don't think it does. I don't think they do anything with it to say that they're trying to say anything one way or the other. It's just no, they're just a tool because he's evil and he's a monster. And it's a movie.
Another thing that kind of like, I don't know, like maybe it's tough with doing this with the character, but I feel like you're making Laurie so like badass and stuff, but like it doesn't seem like she's like super prepared like when he like kind of like first shows up, like because it kind of seems like she should be good to be like oh, he's here, like there's a scene where he's like coming up to the doorway and she has a shotgun in her hand, and the first thing she does is like slam the door and lock it, and I'm like, he's like far enough away from you and you have a shotgun, he doesn't run, like why are you not shooting him blank like right here?
Yeah, I mean, I like parts of this. I like that she had shutters on all the doors, so once she checked the room, she'd close the door off. It's like, okay, you can't sneak up behind me now. Right, that was smart to me. I like that side of it. Like I said, the closet teased twice, both at the start and the end of this, was really weird, and the mannequins felt really over the top. But the actual idea of her checking a room and then like shutting the door behind her with the shutter so that he can't just go in that room again, I like that. It's like she's checking places. It's almost like a survival horror game. In Resident Evil, you're checking off each room, and it's like, okay, but we've checked this room for items, right? We can check it off the map now. It almost felt like that, and I was kind of okay. I kind of dig this idea, but this is the thing. I almost feel like you could have had the entire second half of the movie be Laurie versus Michael in her game of like her maze, her maze of traps that she set up, and it ended up just being one trap that her daughter knew about. That was like trap him in the basement to burn them. Don't get me wrong, I did like the daughter like pretended to be scared to trap him. It was she pretended that that she needed help just enough, and then as soon as he was in the right place, it was like, okay, hit the button, and it was like like he fell for it, like he fell for the screaming girl act. Like I like that moment again. Like there's a lot of ideas and moments that I like. I just wish that the actual pacing of the scenes and the build up meant it had the impact when it actually happened, because I cared about these characters that much. I cared about them because I've seen them survive through the hell, and I don't know. Also, was it just me, or did she not really seem to like acknowledge or care that her husband was dead?
Oh no, no, not at all. Like it definitely.
Yeah, never really.
Yeah, see. That's a good point.
We're burning the house with Michael inside it alive. Oh, should we check for my husband in there? Because I don't know that he's dead yet.
What's another weird thing I actually just remembered is again, it kind of seemed like this was going to be more of a main character, and I don't think we ever really get much of it. But like the one cop that had the cowboy hat, like you never really.
Oh, I think it's the sheriff. Yeah.
Yeah, because you have like the other one that's like the older one that ends up getting killed by the doctor.
Yeah, he was like a rookie cop, didn't it? Because when they said his name, I was like, Officer Hawkins sounds familiar, and I think I was just thinking of Stranger Things because of Hawkins, Indiana. Yeah. But I was like, they're not telling me that's the sheriff in the first movie. First of all, his name was Brackett, and secondly, he'd be like 95 now, if that. Yeah. So I was like, oh no, he was a rookie, and actually that is the only hint you get of how they caught Michael, is they mentioned that he was the first to respond and he stopped Loomis from killing Michael, because Loomis presumably hunted him down and tried to kill him right after the end, and I don't know, which whatever, like it's fine, and it's nice to get Loomis like a mention and hear some like the voice actor do the impression to have his presence in some way.
Yeah, cool. It sounded good too.
So no, I get that, and I get that's maybe the other reason why I have the podcasters, but they were just clogging up the runtime in the first half, honestly.
Oh yeah,
they were just making it more complex than it needed to be. I really wanted just to pick a character and stay with them, and like, because think about how much time we spend with Laurie just like walking home from school, get into her house, seeing Michael that one time in the clothes outside the sheets, and then her going to Tommy's, like how everything's just about this, the A to B of each part of the day until it gets to the night where Michael's going to be unleashed.
So how did you feel about the gas station scene then, with like the podcasters and that Michael getting the the suit and stuff and the mask.
It was better than Halloween 4. Like, I mean, I said this about the first trailer. My one complaint about the first trailer that I was a little bit iffy on was him dropping the teeth in the bathroom. Felt a bit on Michael to me.
Yeah, like he doesn't seem to like. Why does he need to like intimidate this person? Like he's gonna kill her anyway, and he's already right there. Like it seemed like a very, I don't know, kind of unnecessary thing, I guess.
And it was funny because we've had so many Halloween movies, like it being at a gas station reminded me of Halloween 4 because that's where he gets the jumpsuit. It also reminded me of Halloween H2O, when the mother and the kid are in the bathroom.
He takes the car.
Yeah. It reminded me of these things, and I'll give them credit that at least
when we don't like it, but even the Rob Zombie had the. That's
true. Yeah.
When I forget, what was the guy like Grizzly something?
Yeah, it was from Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
What's his name? Keenan's dad from Keenan and Kel. Oh, yeah. What's his name? That's gonna bug me. It's gonna bug the shit out of me.
I forget the actor's name, but I remember the character was like Grizzly Joe or something like that.
Yeah, it's Peter from not Walking Dead. God no, Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Like it was just a bit overdone. I'll give them credit for though is despite the fact that the shot of Michael putting on the mask is in broad daylight, it still looks quite good. Like it doesn't feel like this looks stupid because it's in daylight. It still looks intimidating. So yeah. I'll give that credit. It didn't have that horrible look to it that a Rob Zombie film does. The actual visual look of the film is fine. It's just the actual shots and the pacing of the edits that bugs me.
So how did you like some of the, like, I guess especially in this scene, like some of the having him kind of like in the background a little bit, because that feels like a very like Michael Myers thing, to kind of just like, because wasn't there like a scene where I think one of the characters is walking and you just kind of see him like punching the guy like on the ground or something in the background?
Yeah, which I like. Again, I think the pacing of a lot of these, like every time there was a shot of him like standing in the background or being in the distance, it felt like it was like twice as quick as it should have been, like every time.
Yeah,
like they were rushing through it as opposed to actually letting it linger there so we can all notice that he's there and like let it sort of sink in. It felt like we had to really like like, hey idiots watching this, he's there, notice him, but he's gone now. Like it really felt like that. And like I say, so even when it was doing things that I should like because it's trying to emulate the original film, this is where I come back to the direction. I just don't think he had it in him. I don't think he knew how to direct this film.
Or do you think was the issue maybe that he was trying too hard to emulate like that original stuff? Like maybe if he just was like, I'm not going to try, to ape John Carpenter or whatever. I'm gonna try to do my own thing. Maybe that would have been like a little more like better or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's not like it has to emulate, because it's not like when you watch Halloween 2 or 4, which I like those, or even H2O. Like they still have proper pacing. They might not have the great direction of the original, or may not be quite as slow as the original, but they still feel like they're properly paced, suspense scenes, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this does not. So it's not so much that it has to exactly be like Halloween 1. It just has to have like build and pacing. I feel like the movie was on fast forward at times, the way it was just quickly going through the moments. Like it wasn't giving me like a time to let the moment that just happened sink in. It would just cut immediately, and it felt wrong for the pacing of the movie.
And what did David Gordon Green, what did he direct before?
Comedies.
They're all comedies?
I think so. Let me just go double check. I'll go click at his name.
Because obviously I know like Danny McBride is a comedic guy, but
he's a producer on that. I was going to say he directed that, which I've not seen, but I've heard things. Let's see. He's directed TV stuff. He's directed Manglehorn or Branda's Crisis. I didn't realize he did that. He had Joe with Nicolas Cage. I never saw that, but
okay.
He did Your Highness, Pineapple Express.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
wait,
okay.
He did Snow Angels. Okay, that's different. That's a really different film. Okay, I'll give him credit there. That's like a thriller drama. That's very different. Sam Rockwell, Kate Beckinsale, it's a whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't think he was up to it. I think it's a badly directed and edited film, and that's my biggest. Like, I can talk about them making too many callbacks. I can talk about them having too many plots, but ultimately, I'd kind of forgive a lot of this, and a lot of it would be kind of just be fixed. But if the scenes themselves had the pacing and the suspense that I would hope for in a film like this, and I just don't think it was there at all.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's it kind of sucks. But again, it's like, I don't know. I wasn't angry, but I was just like disappointed.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I was trying to like it almost the whole way. Like I kept, like try to like get into different parts of it, and like I think the Allison's chase theme was really good. That was new music. I was like, oh, this is interesting and different for Halloween, and I was kind of into it. I was kind of confused why it wasn't the dun dun dun, but they saved that for later, and I was like, okay, that's fine. But every time I started to like something, the scene would ruin it with how it was presented, or ruin the execution, ruin the timing at the end, and it would take me out of it again. And it kept doing that to the point where I was like, I like what it's doing with some of this stuff. And obviously my favourite part was the middle. My favourite part was Michael getting into some random houses. And here's something. I do like that Michael isn't looking for Laurie. The idea that he wouldn't even have found her if she hadn't run into him, because she's looking for him. That's why he finds her. And I like that he's just killing randomly on Halloween. That's all he wants to do. But when he sees her, through the window in the mirror, when she sees him through the house, because she's got a police radio and she's listening for things, and she shoots at him, I do get a moment of recognition where he's like, that's the one who got away.
Yeah, because it's important to remember that they're no longer related.
Yeah,
it undoes the second movie, which kind of in the other sequels that was kind of part of the kind of the mythos or whatever, is like, oh, he just wants to kill like all his family members and stuff. So yeah, in this one it's like he's not really on a mission to do that. He's just out to kill. Yeah,
which I like. Yeah, and the concepts I like for the most part, like almost uniformly I like. And I like that, and I actually kind of like as well how she has a different reaction here, because when she sees him kind of on the bus when he's getting transported, she breaks down and cries. But when she sees him with the mask on, she sees the shape. It's no, shoot first, think about it later. I kind of like that. I like the difference in her reaction depending on which one she sees.
Yeah, I think there's two like big things we haven't talked about yet that it'd probably be worth mentioning. So we kind of talked about it vaguely earlier, but we should probably talk about the kind of the plot twist middle.
Dr. Sartain, his whole thing, because he kind of felt like he was kind of a really, like, because at first I was like, he feels really minor for being what's essentially the new Loomis, right? And kind of less interesting, because he obviously he almost dies in the car, the bus crash that lets out Michael, and I guess it's kind of implied that later he might have had something to do with that, because I'll give them some credit, where I thought the opening was really far-fetched that he'd let him do this with the mask. Like, why are you giving the memento to the serial killer? This is weird. But given his motivations later on, it's like, okay, it makes sense. He wanted to provoke a reaction. He wanted to do these things. So here's the thing. I don't hate the idea of a Loomis-type character, not Loomis himself, of course, but a Loomis-type character who's actually obsessed with Michael, and then, almost like how the Joker turns Harley Quinn into a killer, right? Where you've got a doctor who becomes obsessed and wants to feel it for himself. I don't hate that in concept, and if you actually spent the movie building up to that, and like that's kind of like a big plot point and a big, like, even that may be the main story, then I don't hate that as an idea. But in the movie, it just kind of like happens out of nowhere. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's very out of nowhere, and I feel like we didn't really get like enough time with the doctor. And again, I think this is just the erratic nature of the movie, where there's like you kind of not really sure what the focus is or anything. So yeah, it feels kind of strange. But I agree though. Like, I'm not against this idea for a plot line if it's maybe more of a focus on the movie.
Here's the other thing though. It comes right after we're supposed to believe that a very light bump with a car killed Michael Myers. Because
now I don't.
Yeah, go on.
I don't know. Oh, I don't know if you thought this, but I kind of like in Halloween tradition, I kind of thought that was going to be someone else.
Okay, yeah. It's funny, actually, I've been re-upping, because we had Halloween 2 through 5, our reviews of those were on the old channel, and I've been tinkering them with a little bit and putting them back up as archive versions on this channel, just so they're all together and the whole series is one big thing. And when I was just tinkering with Halloween 2, the one part I heard us talk about was the scene where this random guy is wearing a similar Michael Myers mask, and Loomis shoots at him, and then a car runs into him, and then he bursts into flames, and it turns out to be some random teenager. And I was so like, crazy. Oh man, I forgot how dark and like randomly violent that scene is. It's so cruel. This random passerby, poor him. And it's not like it's like Halloween 4 where everyone knew him and it's like some asshole who's deliberately looking like Michael Myers. This is like when the mask was just no one knew what it was. Yeah. So, you know. Anyway, so I mean, it's when he put on Michael's mask as if he's been a fanboy, I was like, okay, I can see how this could be interesting had they given it the time, but the twist itself comes out of nowhere. It kind of makes you groan because we're supposed to believe Michael's actually even like temporarily dead from this car hit. You know, he should just get up. And then
yeah, I did kind of like though the idea of like Allison being trapped in the back seat with him. Like I thought that was like kind of a good like you know, tense, like, all right, because you know he's gonna wake up, so it's like, all right, when's it gonna happen? You know, how's she gonna get out of it?
Yeah.
So I kind of like that part of it.
Yeah, but ultimately it was kind of a contrived way where he wants him to face Laurie. He thinks that's what will get him to speak. He has missions to get him to speak for some reason. So he thinks, oh, he can confront Laurie, the one who got away, and that'll be what. Obviously, but he's killed so quickly after this plot twist as well. As soon as they get to the house, he's killed, and it's like, well, okay, so you did this big twist, and now we've just lost him. So it just felt like a plot, kind of like how the boyfriend was just to get rid of the phone. He's just there to get Michael where Laurie is.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So it feels that cheap. What about the comic relief between the two cops in the car? I know people have been talking about this as well, about the sandwich.
Oh yeah. I until you said sandwiches, I remember that they're in the car, but I forgot they were talking what they were talking about.
I'll be honest, I actually don't really have a problem with this. It's not so much that I think it's that funny. It's that to me this is just a typical scene to set up, because you want to set the characters are up there, right? And well, what do you do with them? Do you have a serious scene where they're talking about how dangerous it is? You could do that. It's kind of common to have this be comic relief. Like this I could see this being in Halloween 4 or H2 or any other sequel. And it doesn't do the thing where it cracks jokes in the scary scene after the fact. It maybe it spends too long on them, Matt, maybe. I agree with that.
But I agree with that, yeah.
I think it's a harmless little joke setup scene just to establish that they're there. That's the purpose of the scene. It maybe spends too long, but I don't actually have a problem with it in essence, because it doesn't actually ruin anything. If anything, this is the one scene that could have been cut down, whereas everything else needed more time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fine. And like I do like that in the Halloween movies. Like I do think, you know, there should be some like you know, some like mundane conversations and stuff just to kind of be like, you know, oh, let's, you know, upplay like the normalcy and stuff of, you know, this is just like, you know, a normal small quiet town and people might talk about this stuff. But yeah, it definitely did seem to wear out its welcome after a while. Yeah.
Because I saw this being brought up along with the kid as if this is a scene that's out of place, and I didn't feel like it was actually that out of place on its own. I mean, it wasn't that funny, but it's like it was kind of harmless, and just it was setting up that they're there, and no more.
Yeah, I think the kid stuff is much more egregious to like.
Yeah, it's much funnier.
Actively,
which is actually part of the problem, is that it's really funny.
Yeah,
even when Michael's around. But yeah, and then you know, and like I say with the ending, like I wish that there was more traps so that it didn't just feel like the one trap worked. But you know, and I also felt like that once Laurie did disappear, there should have been more of like Michael looking for her and like actually treat it like he is now the Laurie in the scene where he's looking for her. It should have been maybe played with that a bit more. But which is actually my final complaint. A moment that I hated the line of dialogue when Laurie, because again, making a callback to the first movie, Laurie's face comes out of the dark from behind him. But notice, just like everything else in this movie, it's far too quick. You remember that scene in the original movie where Laurie's like sitting next to the closet and slowly Michael's white face comes out of the darkness. They do that where her face just kind of pops out of the darkness and she says, "Happy Halloween, Michael," before she like hits him into the basement. And
yeah.
I hate it. It's such a stupid one-liner, and it like I say, it's going for this another callback again. We've had too many at this point, and honestly, the balcony one was perfect. The balcony one sets up that the tables have turned. It sets up that the next couple of scenes are going to be of Michael looking for her. That's smart. And let's be honest, that scare with Michael works so well because he has that blank mask, because he has that emotionless blank mask that comes slowly out of the darkness.
Yeah.
Her regular face doing it's not as impressive.
Yeah. Also, I don't know. This is just kind of uh, a weird thing. I was just thinking of, but
Jam.
I do. Yeah, what with that? No, yeah, like
That's gonna really. Well, actually, Tim actually does some amateur stand-up comedy, but I'm just gonna say that was like a bad comedian thing. You know, when they do an impression, like Jam. What's up with that?
back in my day, it was called Jelly. I don't know.
Always jamming me.
But no, what it was, I was just trying to think of like, all right, so you have like this killer on the loose, and like you think that it might be coming after these people and stuff. Like, would the police really be like, yeah, let's go back to your house, or would they be like, no, let's take you to like the police station where it's safe or anything? I don't know about police procedure and stuff, so I don't know.
Well, not the Halloween party. I feel like that's too many people to take to the station. But you mean Laurie and her family?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because they were specifically like, I'm taking him back to my house, and the cops are like, okay, like we'll escort you and stuff. And it's like, you want to put him into like protective custody?
I mean, hell, if it turned into like Halloween meets Assault on Precinct 13, where Michael's like storming the police station Terminator style, I mean, I'll take that. Yeah. I'll take that as an idea. Because that's one of the things I love about that scene in 4, where they're kind of holed up at the house and they're waiting for him, and they've got like, the deputy and the sheriff have got their guns, and they're waiting for him, thinking he's going to come. Like, I really like that scene. Like, Halloween 4 is still my favorite sequel. I like Halloween 2 more than this. I like H2O more than this. I like it. I probably like this more than 5 and the rest of them. If nothing else, because the score is way much better and the IDs are better.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's easily not the worst in the franchise. Like, it's nowhere near as bad as the Rob Zombie movies. Like, those movies actually do make me angry. Like, those are really tough watches. And
it's not as stupid as Resurrection or 6.
Yeah, Resurrection's bad. Yeah.
But it's like it's trying to be all these things, and I don't think it's achieving any of them. Yeah. And that hurts. It hurts because it's not like like you say, Rob Zombie's Halloween is spitting in the face of the original. This isn't doing that. This is actually trying. Like, it's the poor bastard's trying his best to pull it off, and it's just not even getting close to that mark.
Yeah, and like you said, we're kind of like or at least seem to be kind of the odd people out in this, but it does kind of baffle me that like
some people some like it. It's weird.
Not just like it, because it'd be one thing if people are like, oh yeah, like that was pretty good, but it seems like the people that are into it are really into it. Like, I've seen people making lists, and it's like, oh, like I don't know, this might be like just as good as the original. It's like, what are you talking about? Like
that's why I kind of compare it to Rogue One, because I feel like not only do people love that movie compared to me, they love it and they talk about how great the Darth Vader scenes are, and that's where I kind of compare the fan service, because I hear people say, oh, that swerve in the balcony when it was her instead of him was like, that's the most badass thing ever, and I'm like, I'm getting that same vibe where the people who love it because of all these moments, and to me they're actually what cheapen it, because I feel like it's relying on them. It's relying on like, just hey, remember this moment, where I would much rather it mimic the filmmaking, because that's what made the original good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like, even if you take that stuff aside, though, like, I think there's like examples of legitimate bad filmmaking in this, that it's like, and I don't know, maybe I sound too snobby or something, but like, and if you like the movie, that's fine. Like,
Tim,
obviously,
we're reviewing a movie. Commenting on bad filmmaking should not be a snobby complaint in a movie review.
True, but yeah, I mean, that just well, you know how it is though. If people like something, they don't want to hear you badmouth it, even if it is like, no, like, look, like this is like legitimately not like something people should do when making a movie. But
I'll compare it to Superman, right? The remakes were Batman v Superman, right? That's where it's just completely doesn't understand the character. It's a complete travesty. This is more Superman Returns, where it wants to be nostalgic, and it just kind of misses the mark, and it's just kind of a dull. Well, this isn't a dull movie. It's not a perfect comparison, but and I think it's a problem I have with like the industry as a whole right now, actually, in some ways. And this is where, like, people who think I've got a bias towards Star Wars, I'm like, well, you know what? Now it's time to Halloween. Alien Covenant was garbage. Like, my franchises are being hit by this, where it's relying too much on nostalgia, and it's not. It's doing things, and it expects to get away with things because, hey, you remember this thing from before, therefore you like it, therefore you'll be happy. And I'm like, no, but the original movie made all these moments great by doing them well and making them great. You remember them because they were good ideas and they were well executed and they were original when they were done. now everything that's a sequel or a movie that's, you know, brought back, and obviously there's exceptions. Mad Max Fury Road, great exception of just, no, that did its own thing and it was great. So many sequels that come back are determined to rely on referencing moments and characters and set pieces from the original film, and it's just like, it's done.
It's yeah, it's not a movie, but you know, we both really liked Ash versus the Evil Dead. Like, I felt that was like a good, you know, like definitely fan service moments in that, but also like, you know, they brought a lot of new stuff to it, and it still felt like it had the kind of the fun tone of like from Army of Darkness and that kind of stuff.
I'm not saying there should never be any callbacks. I'm not saying you can't have any, because like I'm saying, if they just had the balcony moment, I would have lost my shit for that, and just have that be the only one. That'd have been fantastic. And Ash vs Evil Dead obviously has the tone where they can do it in a jokey way a lot more without it feeling like it's
true,
you know, betraying it, whereas here it feels kind of out of place. But I think we're in this really bad nostalgia culture a little bit at times with movies right now, where
I agree.
Where you go and see what's some other recent ones that have bugged me? Terminator Genesis, which is also a garbage movie, but it's full of like, here's like this moment exactly from Terminator 2, here's this moment exactly from Terminator 1, or even I mean, I've been ragging on Star Wars, but I feel like Star Wars is a lot of this, where every 10 minutes, we have to show R2D2 because we've not had like an old character show up for a while, so just to remind everyone to like Star Wars. This is why you like Star Wars.
No, I totally see that, and like for the most part, I do like most of like the, you know, Star Wars movies, but I do also have problems with them, and in general, yeah, for the most part, I would rather see, you know, them branch out and do their own thing as opposed to just trying to rely on the other stuff.
Well, it's just funny because I don't like Last Jedi, but I dislike Last Jedi for completely different reasons. I'll give Last Jedi credit for not just doing the same things again.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd give that.
Yeah, but you know, so I mean, that's a broader topic to go into, is this nostalgia reliance in movies these days, especially since there's so many things that are sequels to old movies, or like, you know, reboots and, you know, comebacks of old movies. Whereas look at the Chucky franchise and how that's kept evolving and moving into new territory, whilst also honouring the past that they've had. It's a fine line, don't get me wrong, but like, it can be done. And
yeah, that's actually a really good example. Yeah. One.
But I don't know. I'm really disappointed, because I'm not even angry, because it's not like Rob Zombie's movies where I'm angry, like, because they tried with this. They really tried.
And again, I think the whole big thing was just like, you know, when you're listening to the interviews, they're talking about, you know, again, they were saying all the right things. I like almost feel like kind of lied to, because, you know, it's like when you listen to them talk about it, it's like, okay, yeah, these aren't some Hollywood, you know, people that are just like, oh yeah, we love Halloween, so we want to make a new one and do it our way and stuff. And it's like, oh no, they're saying.
The funny thing is I think they didn't lie. I think everything they were saying, they kind of stuck to in a weird way. They just couldn't pull it off. They just couldn't film. The filmmaking just couldn't do it properly. Because they didn't betray who Michael Myers is. I mean, I think the kills were maybe a little bit more Jason-esque at times, but other than that, like, it felt like Michael Myers. You know, the mask looked good. The way they talked about him in the movie sounded right. Like, you know, it wasn't a betrayal of the character by any means.
True. Yeah.
So, it's upsetting to me. I'm disappointed. This will easily be my most disappointing thing of the year, is how I feel about this.
Fair.
And it almost hurts more that I'm looking around and like so many people love it. It's like why is it not working for me?
No, that is always like a harsh thing when it's like you hate being like the only one that's like, hey, why don't I like it? And also, you know, and I imagine it's even a little harder for you, because like with me, like I'm not the biggest fan of the franchise. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the franchise, and like obviously the first one's a masterpiece, and then, you know, I like some of the sequels and I have fun with it, but it's not like, you know, my go-to, like you know, again, like something like Nightmare or Evil Dead that I like. Those are the ones I really fanboy out for.
The meme that came to mind, and you know, I don't like to reference Star Wars when I'm just like referencing lines and stuff, but this one's on its own is just a meme now. But it's from the prequels where he's shouting out, "You were supposed to be the chosen one." That's how I felt. That's how I felt leaving this movie. You were supposed to be the one that finally got it right in my lifetime. Damn it.
Yeah. So I imagine, even it hits harder for you, who that's like, this is like, you know, like one of your real big go-to ones. But
it's a shame, because I like 4, 2, and H2O more. And I really didn't want to come out of this saying that. And I like those. It's not like I don't like those movies. I like those movies quite a bit, especially 4 and 2. But I was hoping this was going to be at least easily better than H2O, and it's not.
And I think the big hope I was coming out with this, and I mean maybe it'll still happen because if the movie makes a lot of money, who cares? But like I was hoping that this was kind of gonna reinvigorate other franchises and who knows,
slasher
maybe
movies and yeah. Which to be fair, it's looking like it's going to have the biggest opening weekend for the franchise. Maybe the biggest opening weekend for a horror movie. Well, maybe not a horror movie, but at least like a franchise horror movie like this. In fact, not only that. It might actually beat, because Venom just broke the record for the biggest opening weekend in October. Halloween might beat it, which I do like a little bit, even though I don't like the movie. I'm like, yeah, get him shape, get him Michael.
So what do you think the chances are of a new Friday or Nightmare then, if this does really well?
110%.
Okay.
I don't doubt for a second that this making money inspires more Friday, because there's all those right-tangled issues right now with Friday the 13th. I guarantee those lawyers are going to get paid overtime to sort it out as quickly as possible so they can get something out. I guarantee they're going to. And I will guarantee you 110% that we're going to get Halloween 2 or Halloween, whatever they're going to call it.
Yeah, and so, I mean, we kind of didn't really go too much about how this ends, but it looks like Michael's pretty dead in this. But, I mean, obviously it hasn't stopped him before, but...
Here's the thing, though. He's in the basement and it's burning. They actually show less of him burning than Halloween 2 did at the end of the hospital stuff. You saw more of him burning himself in that movie. They leave this open enough that I can buy he gets out.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
If they go that route. I mean, maybe they'll try and do the anthology thing, but I don't think they'll want to. I think they want to have Michael Myers on the poster. They want to have all that stuff. Whether or not you get Jamie Lee Curtis in that back for it, I don't know. Because you could just have the granddaughter, really. Just, Laurie died between movies. She died happily, finally.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Like, I wouldn't be like dreading a new one based on my feelings in this, because I think Michael still feels right if they get a better director and just have Michael try and kill people. Like, I could be into that.
Because I think Green and McBride. I think they kind of said that they wouldn't do a sequel, or I mean, maybe if they were just playing coy because they don't want to give away the ending or something.
Blumhouse definitely wants to do a sequel, so yeah.
So we'll get it, but maybe different people in charge, which could be exciting.
It's good. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it could go very wrong with different people as well, but I want better people in it. I want someone more suited to this franchise. Give me, I don't know, whoever.
I think, like, the first thing that comes to my mind, but just because it's kind of like, give this person everything, but like Jordan Peele, I'd be interested in, like...
Oh, sure, yeah, I think he could do a good job. I think a really obvious answer, and I say this with and I really mean this, I think It Follows is more of a Halloween throwback than this is. Like, I think the way that film's directed feels more like Halloween than this film does. Not that I necessarily just want him to do the same things over and over again. Like, I almost want to have someone who's not done a slasher movie or even a horror movie to give it a go. As much as I said that my main complaint with this is that the comedy director didn't know how to do it properly, but but yeah, give it to Cary Fukunaga, give it to Jordan Peele, give it to whoever wants to do it.
I mean, I'm always blanking on the name, but the woman that did The Invitation, it could be interesting.
She had a trailer this week for a new movie.
Oh, how's it looking?
It looked interesting. It was more of a like an action thriller with Nicole Kidman. It was called. I forget what it was called now. But she's like an undercover cop who like falls in love with a bank robber, and then something goes wrong. She has to like come back and avenge, and she's got a kid with a bank robber. I mean, it's a sort of plot that on paper the plot's whatever, but with the style of that director, I'm like, okay, yeah,
that'd be done.
Yeah, I could be into it. But yeah, no, that's a good example. There's just someone who understands pacing is my thing. Pacing, which leads to suspense. Which, as much as people will tell you, oh, this is the most suspenseful Halloween in a long time, I don't think it's that suspenseful. I think the pacing ruins the suspense, and the editing ruins the suspense constantly.
Yeah, so totally fair.
Yeah. Well, this actually, I think, might be one of the longest streams after minutes we've ever done. We're closing in on 90 minutes with this one, Tim.
Yikes.
Yep. But hey, we knew this was going to be long. Like, I mean, even a new Friday the 13th or Nightmare, I don't think will get this long. Maybe if they
Yeah.
ruin Nightmare so much that it becomes like another hate fest where there's like so much to talk about. But
True. Yeah.
but yeah, I don't think I could get this heated about a Friday the 13th, because if a Friday the 13th movie comes out and sucks, I'm not. It's not like it's got this high standard that it's ruining by, So
Yeah.
All right, I guess we're at that point, Tim.
All right.
I guess we're at that point. What are you rating Halloween 2018?
This is kind of a tough one because again, it's like it's very middle of the road. Like, yeah, it's not horrible, but it's definitely not good. So I think I'm gonna go slightly below like the halfway point. I'm gonna give it a 4. I as much as I didn't like it though, this would be one I'd kind of would want to watch again because like once it's out on like Blu-ray or something, like I wonder if I watch it kind of going in knowing the flaws and not having that big expectation or something like
maybe it works better. Yeah, no, I'm
not saying that it would like jump up and I'd be like, oh, it's a 10 now, but like maybe it might be like a little more enjoyable.
There's enough moments I like. I'd be willing to watch it again as well, and maybe I would like it more in repeat viewings. But I actually agree with the 4. I think 4 is a good number because I think it's very middle of the road, and I think I have to go below the halfway point because I think the filmmaking ruins what it could be so much. It ruins a lot of the potential. But I do like some of the cast. I do like most of the ideas, even if there's too many of them. And I like the intentions. It's very well intentioned, and and obviously the score is a big positive.
The score gets big points.
It's good.
I'm reading Halloween.
How unprofessional! I know we've been going a while, Tim, but you can hold out another 2 minutes.
Oh, it's Halloween. You have to eat Halloween candy.
All right, okay. I've got no candy near me. Cat, fetch me candy.
Go trick or treating.
I've got peanut butter Kit Kats in the kitchen. Go fetch me them, Cat.
Oh, that sounds really good.
Yeah, a bit of those. Anyway, that is Halloween. So I hope this wasn't like I hope this was balanced enough and didn't sound too whiny. But I am genuinely kind of heartbroken that I don't like this.
Yeah.
Because with Halloween by Rob Zombie, I was like, gunning for blood. I was like, yeah, I'm out to tear that asshole, a new one, right? Whereas with this, like, I wanted to love it. I really did, and it is so well intentioned. But damn it, I'm heartbroken.
Well, I think we pleaded our cases. The one thing I don't like is it's fine to like a movie. It's okay to hate a movie. Either way is fine, but I don't like the. If everyone loves it and you disagree, you don't like it. I don't like it when people are like, "Oh, you're just being like a cranky old person who."
Joe, word I hate him.
Like, what's that?
The millennials love, and I say that as we're pretty much millennials.
Yeah.
I hate the word hater. I hate that when someone is talking about people who don't like something they like, they just refer to them as the haters, as if there's some like shitty group who is coordinated in some way. And it's like, no, there's no conspiracy here. I just really don't like the movie or whatever it is. And
it's like we wanted to like the movie. Like it's not like we went in going, well, this is gonna suck. Which, I think some people do that sometimes, and that's not like helpful. But no, like we legitimately didn't like it.
Yeah, it's like it dehumanizes the people who have a different opinion just to write them off so you don't have to listen to them. And it's a really like bad attitude that some people have on the internet that we could be doing without.
Well, and it's also like. It's you kind of see it all the time now, but like people just want to surround themselves in a bubble with people that just think and like the same things. As you like, which is fine. Like obviously, you gravitate towards people you have similarities with, but then I feel like it's a problem when it's like, well, you can't even handle someone not agreeing with you. Like
exactly, yeah. Because when I heard Tim didn't like this, I was thinking this was going to be a fight to the finish. This was going to be the Boy 2.0, but with more stakes. Of course, the Boy was one I hated and Tim liked, but I think last year we had a movie called The Monster that I quite liked, and Tim didn't like it that much. Sure. And there's examples here or there, but obviously we're friends. We talk about horror movies because we do have a lot of overlap. We have a lot of overlap where we and. I actually think this is a big example of why we are like close enough to discuss this stuff, is that so many people like this and we happen to be out of our circles, seem to be the two outliers. And it is notable that we are the two biggest horror fans out of all those circles.
Yeah.
But it's definitely divisive on the internet. I've seen a lot of mixed opinions on this. Like, some people love it, some people hate it. And I wouldn't go as far as to say that I hate it. I don't feel hatred for this.
Yeah.
I feel crushing disappointment because it doesn't hit the mark. It's just like someone shooting try to hit a 3-pointer in basketball, but they're actually the ball's landing on a baseball field like 2 miles down the road. Right, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like when I first stepped out of the movie, like, I wasn't tweeting like, oh my god, that sucked, I hated it. I was like, well, that was kind of a mess, which is how I feel. It's a mess of a movie, and yeah, it's not enough where I feel that I hate it, but yeah, unfortunately, it's not enough though to like it.
Yeah,
there's not enough there to like.
Yeah. For us, disagree all you want. That's fine. We encourage alternate opinions.
Yeah.
Just be civil about it. Be nice about it. That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully something picks us up, Timmy, soon. We hopefully get a nice gem that's going to pick us up.
Well, it's probably going to be a little longer for you, but hopefully, if everything works out, I'll be seeing Suspiria soon, and I'm pretty hyped for that one, actually.
Yeah. I hate that you're bringing that up because there's a chance that we'll be able to do that in the show in a couple of weeks, or it might have to be a couple of months depending on a few factors. So now they know they might get it in a couple of weeks, but if it doesn't happen, then it's going to be a couple of months because we have to wait for home releases. But
if we end up having to wait, though, it probably means most people have to wait too. But yeah, and I might not even possibly get to see it, but that's like the next big horror movie though that I'm looking forward to. Yeah,
there's been a lot of trailers recently. Happy Death Day 2's got a trailer for next year. Pet Sematary got a trailer.
Oh god, don't get me started.
The Curse of La Llorona. I can't pronounce Spanish words properly. La Llorona is what I'd say, but when I heard the trailer, the way he pronounced it sounded a bit different. Like, it sounded like, oh, this is like a Spanish word with a specific pronunciation.
I don't think I heard of that one. We did get a trailer for a new one I'd never even heard of called Prodigy, which has a girl from Orange is the New Black.
You're a fire starter.
Okay.
The band, The Prodigy.
Oh, I don't listen to them. I don't know.
I don't listen to them either, but I know that song because it's famous enough.
Honestly, I've never heard that song.
Really? Okay, I meant that. No, I will say the funny thing about the Curse of La Llorona, I think it's the curse of it. Maybe something else that goes into it. It's like maybe the legend of La Llorona, but is that there's a priest in it, and it's the same actor playing the priest who played the priest in the first Annabelle movie, and I was like, what? And then it came out saying produced by James Wan, and I'm like, is this like another Conjuring spin-off with this character, but like before? I don't think it is. It looks like set present day, but whatever.
Wait, is Conjuring 3 next year?
Yeah, someone else directed it though. It's not Wan.
Oh, okay.
But we'll see. Same writer though, so we'll see if it works out. But after the Annabelle movies and thing, which by the way, actually, Tim watched Haunted of Hill House like I have. I reviewed all 10 episodes of it on the channel and on the Netflix audio feed. But what I will point out though is, did you notice that some of the cast in that, one was the girl from both Annabelle 2 and Ouija 2, Lily Wilson. She was the oldest daughter.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, that's her. She's playing the daughter, or the younger version of Shirley, and the adult actress was her mother in Ouija Origin of Evil.
Oh wow, I didn't even realize that.
And then the other sister, the middle sister, as an adult, is the main character from Hush.
Ooh, I didn't know that. I think the only one I recognized is, I think the mother was from Gerald's Game.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I would expect you to recognize, because that's Carla Gugino. She's like a known actress, I guess is what I'm saying. Whereas all these actors are all like sort of like, they just started popping up in horror movies, but it's notable that Mike Flanagan brought all these actors with him from all of his movies. Like, hey, I want to work with all you guys again. Come on. So I just noticed that. But I really laughed at the Lily Wilson, the girl, and the older version of Shirley, because they played mother daughter in a movie, and now they're playing younger and older of the same character. I just thought that was funny.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, we're tangent. So yeah, that's been Halloween 2018. I'm heartbroken. I didn't like it that much.
Sorry.
I'm in pain. But that is the movie. Hopefully you had better mileage out of it than we did. But hey, so this has been Octoberthon. We're not done yet, of course. There's still some episodes coming. We've got a couple of other movies to record. Also worth mentioning, this was the first one we recorded, or the first one that's going out at least, since Tim got married. Tim's back from his marriage break that I graciously granted him. And
thank you, son.
Show me a ring. Go on, you got a wedding ring. Show your ring off. Look at that. Look at that. It's nerdy, right? There's a nerdy thing on it, I want to say.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. Is that a Zelda thing?
Yeah.
God, Tim. God. You're the worst. Get an umbrella logo on there, something from Resident Evil. I don't know. Something proper.
Oh yeah, because that screams unhappy marriage.
We're bonded like the T virus and the brain cells.
Inside, you put stars or something.
Oh yeah, because Zelda, where he's constantly trying to, do jobs for Zelda. I don't even know what the plot of Zelda is. Is it like Mario, where she's always kidnapped? I don't know.
Kind of. It's yeah. So there's basically like three people that are always intertwined. It's like Link, Princess Zelda, and Ganondorf is the bad guy, and they're kind of bonded by the Triforce, which like they each have a piece of it. So usually the game involves Ganondorf kidnapping Zelda, and you having to go through different dungeons to like reassemble your Triforce piece, and then have a big fight and stuff. But
yeah, so to counteract the point you made a minute ago,
that's about it.
You're telling me that the game where the wife is always kidnapped is a sign of a happy marriage. Is that what you're saying to me?
Well, they're not really wife, or they're not married.
Well, no, but in this context, she would be, because you represent Link and she represents Zelda.
I mean, if that's the way you want to look at it. I just got it because it's cool.
Who's this Ganondorf, whatever his name is?
I guess that would be you. I don't know.
I'm the villain. I'm kidnapping. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. You can tell I've never played a Zelda game. Anyone listening to this who's a big Zelda fan is like crying in pain at the weird references I'm making right now. Sorry, okay. I'm not a Nintendo guy. I'm sorry. I can't make these references properly. I can reference the Super Mario Brothers movie. I'm well versed in the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Dear Lord.
I'm Mario and Luigi Mario.
Just go buy a Switch, for God's sakes. Just do everyone a favor.
I don't want any of the games on. I don't care about any of the games.
Oh, you don't care about the Resident Evil Chronicles or whatever?
What? There's no Resident Evil games on Switch that aren't on other consoles and PC. They don't exist.
You can play them on the go, though.
I don't care about portable. I don't like portable. I had
Revelation. That's the one that they have.
I had a 3DS briefly, and I hated playing it. It made my hands hurt.
Oh dear, Jesus.
The shape was not good for holding a controller, shall we say? Whereas my DualShock 4 is a nice, comfortable shape. I like it.
You're...
All right.
I don't know. I hate your hands. I don't know.
You should hate my hands. Lots of bad things have happened to you with my hands, so that's why you wake up in a cold sweat sometimes. All right. Okay. So I need to go eat. I've got a date with the bent neck lady. So go get some food. But that has been Halloween 2018. So yeah, keep enjoying the Octoberthon. There's a couple of special movies coming up soon. Over the next few days, because I this week was kind of weird because instead of putting up a new movie on Wednesday and Friday like I have been doing this month, I instead just had 4 archive episodes in a row because I wanted to get Halloween 2 through 5 up before the new one. But back to new releases. Obviously this one's a new release, but then new releases are back pretty much entirely for the next week and a half that's left of October, and some special stuff in there. And some notable things, but that is us. That has been Halloween. That has been the new Halloween. If you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, head over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can do that over there for as little as $1 per month. In fact, we were speaking about video games there. Me and Connor are going to do a monthly video game podcast starting this month called 1080-bit.
Nice.
Yeah. Going to be talking about Spider-Man and a bit of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. What else have we been playing?
I platinum Spider-Man.
As did I. Yes.
Nice.
And the last trophy I got was one. It was a hidden trophy I didn't know about, and it was to do with visiting a grave. That's all I'll say.
Mm.
And I was frustrated because I thought, why is it not popped? I've done all the stupid things. I've got all the costumes. I've done all the upgrades. So yeah, me and Cara are going to be doing that. And of course, I did just review all of Haunting of Hill House on my own. So if you want to see my thoughts on that in depth, episode by episode, you can do that. But yeah, look at Patreon. Get us on Twitter at Screams Midnight. And you can also, of course, get me on Twitter at Wibble89. You can get Tim at Tim Vergulish. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for sticking around for this really long episode of Screams. But we'll be back soon with more movies. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching scary movies, guys. And we'll see you next